We have um, we have around like four captains from some of the teams last year, and they're going to be going through a bunch of questions, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A, so where you guys can ask any question that you guys kind of want. So how this will kind of work is we'll ask a question, the whole panel will kind of answer it, and then we'll move on from there. So yeah, with that being said, we'll just jump into the first question. And you guys can go in whatever order you want. Don't worry about yeah. But how do you guys kind of like teach your team a new song or section, and what have you learned from doing this?
Wait, but you want to go first?
No, it's okay. I'll go next. It's okay.
Okay, great. Okay, hi, I'm Ritvik. I'm the MD of Swaram. So how we approach this typically is, so at the beginning of the year when we're teaching our new arrangements, we like to break into sectionals and have like each of like we'll like assign like a section leader for each section for like the sopranos, altos, tenors, and basses. This is something that I learned when I was in orchestra growing up. We would always have like sectionals, and that would always help like within the instrument sections. Us learning from each other definitely helped get parts learned really quickly. And so I brought that to Swaram, and found that that really helps because sometimes even like from an MD perspective, we're not going to know like every single thing that can go possibly wrong in a certain section. So it really helps to like learn from each other, and then you get to bounce ideas off each other about how you want to execute that, and then potentially bringing that to the whole team whenever we reconvene. So that's usually how we approach things at the beginning of that process.
Yeah, like going off of that, we also do sectionals. I was the MD for Humraah last year. And for sectionals, we break it down into voice parts, like Ritvik mentioned, soprano, alto, bass, and tenor. And one other thing that we do is before each practice starts is that everyone has to have their parts kind of familiarized or either like listen to their parts so that going into practice, we don't waste time and it's more easy to pick up. So that's something that a lot of us did last year was listening to our individual parts outside of practice time, which helped learn the song because it'll get stuck in your head over and over as you listen to it. So then we do that and then sectionals in practice. And then once everyone feels kind of familiar with their part, then we come together as a group and it might be rough at first, but we slowly try to put it together and then start and stop based on our doubts, and we continue from there.
Awesome. I can go next. I'm Pramati, and I'll be the MD for UW this coming year. Something that we've done is, also to go off of them, we break into parts. And people kind of have different backgrounds when it comes to learning music, right? So some people are really comfortable reading sheet music. Others, like myself, I really like listening in order to learn. So people kind of just get their own autonomy in that regard. But like Ritvik said, definitely like taking help from your part members to kind of learn with and from each other. So yeah, I think they covered the rest of it.
Yeah, just to kind of add on, we also do the same thing breaking into sectionals, but what we kind of do is we break down into sectionals like soprano one, soprano two, alto one, alto two, so on and so forth. And then we kind of build back up the group from there. So we'll have soprano ones and soprano twos practice separately. Then we'll have soprano ones and all practice together, altos all together, tenors all together. Then we'll do all the girls and then all the boys. And then maybe sometimes we might have like sopranos and tenors practice together, and then altos and basses or altos and berries practice together. I think that really helps people understand not only their own part, but other people's part. And then that kind of translates into helping with blending with the whole group.
Okay, thank you all for your answers. The next question is, how do you teach blend to people who, for the most part, have received solo-oriented training and may not have group singing experience?
I can maybe start this one. I definitely come from a very like solo kind of training background. Like I grew up learning Carnatic classical music, so blend is definitely something I had to learn coming into the a cappella space too. I think it really like helps to emphasize listening to who you're singing with and keeping that as a canvas for your own singing. Oftentimes, just that reminder is a good starting point because we're obviously really focused on singing our own part, and sometimes we lose track of the fact that our entire cohesiveness is what's most important. So just like listening to others almost before you listen to yourself, trusting that you have your part down, and then keeping that as your canvas.
You can go first, it's okay.
Kind of just going off of that, we also try to emphasize blending like within your sections, but one thing that we'll do sometimes is we'll actually do like one person from each section, so like one soprano, one alto, so on and so forth, and we'll have them all sing as kind of like a mini section of the whole team. That helps us a lot in terms of picking out like which specific parts are in blending, which vowels or which dynamics are not blending, and then that's how we kind of get everyone to blend across the group, not just like within their sections.
Yeah, well, similar to what you just said, we do that as well as doing an exercise where for blend, we have the whole group hold one note and involve dynamics in it as well. So it's not just blending on one note, but blending at different volumes, I guess, as well. So like loud or soft. So making sure that note, the vowel shape is correct, as well as like the pitch and just matching. Like a lot of it is, as Pramati mentioned, listening to each other and just having that control of like the volume as well as like matching everyone's pitch. So yeah.
Yeah, that was all like really, really. That's pretty much the same exact thing. During like the arrangement process, we like to try to match the vowels of the ensemble kind of somewhat towards what the soloist is doing. So the way we try to match it like from an articulation standpoint is like if it's like block chords and like long held out notes, then we're trying to focus on more choral vowels, so like super tall and super like straight tone, like no vibrato. And as someone who also came from like a Carnatic only background, this was such a new world for me to enter as well, and I've had to adapt a lot and learn from all the other more chorally trained people on the team, and that's been a process. But and whenever we're having parts of the ensemble that match kind of what the lyrics are doing, so that's essentially like parts where they'll sing the lyrics along it alongside the soloist, but like harmonized. Then we have them match the articulation of as if you're singing the lyrics there. So it's all about like also trying to find the placement in the context of the arrangement as well. But yeah, and we try to do different exercises as y'all stated, where we can test at different volumes, dynamic levels, and try to see like where someone is sticking out potentially, so we can try to amend that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Next question is, how do you guys kind of like maintain balance, especially for those groups that maybe have more higher parts or more lower parts? And so like how do like with that, how would you guys recommend to like, maintain that balance?
Yeah, I can start for this one. For maintaining balance, like within different parts, I guess, is firstly having a reasonably equal number of people for each part. Like soprano, for example, soprano, I mean, relatively for each part, but I would say since it depends on the type of song as well as like how loud or soft people sing. So I guess it depends on the individual. So for example, sopranos are like sing very high and like we have two sopranos and then altos and tenors were I think three to four and then basses we had two. So it's just about finding the balance with people's like own voice. Some people sing softer, some people sing louder. So it's just about finding the right balance. And it's okay to tell people if they need to be louder, be quieter. So just trial and error is part of it and figuring out what works best for the group.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that as well. We've definitely tried to have equality in terms of like trying to have an equal number of people on each part. Sometimes it's not going to happen, but generally we try to focus on having more volume of people in the middle voices like altos and tenors, because typically what we've observed is that like bass and soprano tend to stick out more just because they're on the extremes of like vocal range. So especially when they're on mics, like you can definitely hear that like it's either like too much bass or too much soprano, just because of how bouncing tends to happen. So a lot of times we try to focus on like in terms of mic technique, just like moving it further away or just not doing the dynamics to the same level as some of the middle voices, just because you don't have that freedom, which is just because of how it is, right? And there are sometimes, like as Gowri said, like there's sometimes you just gotta tell them to like pipe down, like because we've had like this past year, like we had a very strong tenor section, T Squad as they would call themselves, and they were all like veterans of the team. They had been on the team for a long time, and there was four of them, and that was more than any other individual parts like had. So there were more of them, and they were more confident in all their notes. And there are so many times during rehearsal I gotta be like, guys, you do not have like the melody here. Stop. So sometimes you do have to be able to like uh, discern where the problems and the balances are. But as long as you like have that awareness, then it definitely helps a lot. It's just listening.
I definitely agree with that. One piece of advice that we actually got from a judge was to think of the whole a cappella team as like a sandwich, and the altos and the tenors are like the meat in the middle. So if you're gonna like when you're building your team, like stack more in the altos and the tenors, because those voices and that blend really like makes up the fullness of a sound. Another thing that we do is once we select soloists, like let's say that both of our soprano ones are soloists, we might kind of reevaluate the girls and see who can sing higher so that we can replace those sections. Or like sometimes if we have two tenors as a soloist, we might see if the lowest alto can sing tenor. So I think after you also select your soloist, it's really important to kind of reevaluate that blend and see what you can move around to match like each song.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think just to go off of, I think a point that Ritvik briefly touched on, something we do a lot of is part by part blend, just to ensure that even like, within that part, people are really aligned and the dynamics are not necessarily gonna be the same for every single part. In terms of like some groups may just have to project a little more, and that depends on just the natural projection of people that are already in the group. Like Ritik was saying, sometimes you have people that just sing louder. And so that group's dynamic is maybe like a mezzo forte, and then another group that has really like naturally quieter singers. I'm going to say sing forte here, like really need to hear you. So I think it's important to kind of like break that down and not necessarily have one big dynamic. And sometimes that helps with overall group uh, blend and balance too.
Thank you all. Before the next question, just wanted to let everyone know that we're going to be putting the question that's currently being answered in the chat in case anyone needs a reminder. Our next question is, how do you maintain a good blend and tone with different dynamics, both off stage and on stage? And then what are some of the common issues you face there and how do you combat them?
Yeah, I guess for on stage versus off stage, as you can probably imagine, it's very different because on stage you're using mics and off stage there aren't. But I guess the main thing is finding a big thing for blend that issues that we've had this year was like again, as I mentioned before, we have some loud singers, some soft singers, and some of the parts were a little bit imbalanced. So it's just about re-listening to our set, like again, once we get the recording and figuring out which parts need to be like a little bit quieter and which parts just need to like be a little bit louder. Like I think yeah, so that's what we need to do. And then like I think everyone just needs to have the same vowel shape depending on what type of vowel is required for the song that we're doing. Whether it be like just choral or a little bit like less than that. And another thing was is also just making sure you're not sounding too, I guess, breathy on the mic and making sure I'm sure there's another question about mic technique, but yeah, just making sure that's also like proper and intact.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The one thing about the stage in like the 9 or so comps that I've done like the last 3 years is that every single one is going to be entirely different. And no matter how much you can prepare in rehearsal without having mics, you can be as prepared as you want, but it's always going to be different than you can possibly perceive. And each one's going to be different in its own special way. But I think we try to stress a lot that having an internal metronome within yourself when you're on stage and when you're when you're in practice, so that you know that you're not going to be in time with the VP, you're not going to be in time with the ensemble, because there's always going to be a delay on stage. So there's always that matter of listening to yourself and having your own type of confidence within your own singing. Um, what else was it? Yeah. And another thing is that like there's always going to be mic issues as well, like, and there's always going to be mic bouncing problems. That's just part for the course. And it's just about adapting and making sure that as an MD or as a captain, that your team knows, like, fully aware of like what you observe at tech time whenever you're stepping out or whenever you're trying to make those observations actively. As long as the team knows exactly what's going on and what you can perceive from the audience standpoint, then that's the best you can do. I remember at Awaze this past year, during a tech time, we were talking to the audio engineers, and something was brought up that we hadn't dealt with before, which was like they had a different thing for like solo mics, where they weren't. I'm sure UW was also there, and y'all also had to deal with this, but like the solo mics were like actually being turned into solo on and off. Like you had to change the proximity of the mic to your mouth instead of it changing the setting and the preset. And that's something that we didn't have to deal with. But I remember me and Nishant, who are our former co-MD, just ran back to the hotel. We're like, guys, when if whoever has the solo, pull it away from your mouth when you're not doing the solo. Pull it close to your mouth when you are doing the solo. Like, it was just something we didn't have to do it, because we always have like the standard of like it should be like 3 fingers away from your mouth. So like that's always what we had to do. So we changed that, like, and we told them as soon as we could. And then I mean, it ended up being a pretty good performance overall. So I think it just, as long as everybody on your team is like on the same page about it, that's as best as you can do.
Yeah. So for us, we actually do practice with mics, but that being said, as much as that does help with kind of reinforcing that technique, like was said by you guys, like no stage is going to be the same as that. And, to some degree, like you can mentally prepare yourself running that in rehearsal, but also just acknowledging that like no matter where you perform, it's going to be a little bit different. So that's just a big thing to like mentally make clear, and just know that like there are going to be times that you can't hear yourself, but you need to trust your tall vowels. You need to remember to blend with everyone. You need to trust your timing. I think the major thing is just like recognizing that even when there are situations where you can't hear yourself or your teammates, you just need to trust your practice, because sometimes if you yell into the mic and you can hear yourself in the monitor, that may seem good to you, but that means you're way too loud in the house. So I'm sure there's more questions about mics coming up, but I think just like trusting the dynamics and trusting the timing that you already know is really huge.
I think one thing that I try to prioritize is knowing like each singer on the team and knowing what their voices sound like knowing which members of your team tend to sing softer versus those that have like a much more powerful, strong voice. And then when you're making your mic map for like tech time, trying to keep that into consideration so that you're balancing everyone's volumes with each other. Even like if we have two soloists on a song and they're singing a duet and one of them sings a lot quieter, like boosting up their mic. I think also just having a conversation with your team before they go for tech time, and like especially if they haven't sang with the mic before, telling them like this is the monitor, this is what you have to listen to see if your voice is loud or soft. Stuff like issues might happen on the stage, so you have to kind of like make a game time decision and be able to change your volumes depending on that. So making sure that your team, like you guys said, is on the same page when it comes to certain tech time issues that might come up is a really good practice.
Yes, there you go. I know y'all already kind of talked about mic technique, but just to dive more into that question, like in y'all's opinion, what's kind of like the proper mic technique for VP, different parts, soloist? If y'all get y'all's perspective on that.
Yeah, just reiterating what's already been said, but there's different like mic. I guess it depends on the competition for this question too, and how their mic system is set up. Like it could be like unidirectional, like we've experienced at one comp. I think it was at Rung de Raga, and you had to like place it like right at your mouth, like horizontally, or else your voice just won't be picked up by the mic. So just paying attention to that, I guess practicing it while the team is doing run-throughs, and just knowing like the system of the competition and trying to get as much practice in as possible for that. And I guess while practicing, we also did this comp season too. Just we we like took a water bottle or something in place of a mic just to like, simulate it, and so we get used to it. And always keep like your elbow up and everything. So to make sure that the right like I guess posture is there and your arm's not drooping. So those are some things that I remembered.
Yeah, same. Um, we also don't get the chance to practice with mics. So something that I wish we did was start earlier with using like a water bottle or like a marker or something to hold up to practice mic placement because we started doing that a little bit later in the year once we started choreo. But I honestly think as soon as the year starts, even if you're just running music without any choreo, start practicing having like proper mic technique and holding something in place every single time you practice. I think like kind of making that muscle memory way before comp is super, super important to have good mic technique so that you're not teaching it or having to adjust like super close to comp and then you run into issues.
Yeah, like y'all, we don't have actual mics, but we're looking into it because it seems like a really good idea. So we have we have these like those travel toothbrush holders, and we've been using that like for like probably since Swarm's inception. But and it doesn't have like the weight of an actual mic, but it helps to like give us muscle memory for like the position, right? So generally, our rule of thumb is that like for ensemble singers and for any singer on the team, like you hold it in the middle, like directly in the middle with equal length on each side, and then like it should be like perpendicular to like your face instead of it like drooping down because like if you sing directly forward and then like the sound will hit like the head of the mic. And typically we say like three not three like three like fingers away from your mouth is probably a good uh standard to set so that not everybody or like not an individual is like overpowered. um, and generally with solo mics, it's turned up higher, so we don't have to change like the distance. But that also, like as y'all said, it depends on the comp. As so, I'm also our primary beatboxer for Swaram. So in terms of like VP mic techniques, so that's stuff I've had to learn over the last few years because I didn't start like beatboxing until I was on Swaram. But generally, I think what this is also we also get like a different thing told to us like at like captain's meeting they'll tell us a different thing every single time, but generally what I found to be most like optimal is like holding the head of the mic in your hand instead of holding it at the middle, and then like trying to get like not like full contact but like it should be like pretty close. That way, like for like more advanced techniques, like if you have like a tongue roller or like a lip roller and word snare, like you have the proximity to like to where it's receiving the sound, so it gets like the most complete sound and you get the most like resonance. There's some techniques where you want to like cover the whole thing, that we get like more resonance and echo. I'm not doing all that, but like it's about getting the proximity in order to get like the resonance and the fullness of the sound. And for basses, because I also sing bass, for like particularly like the primary bass or bass two, I think what they've said is that like you put like the I think you can still do like the middle grip, but then like it should be like near like in between the top lip and like your nose, because that's where a lot of the bass like buzzing resonance comes from, and then slightly tilted upwards. I think that's what they told us at A3 2024. I'm not sure. I don't remember. A through 2025 was kind of a blur. But I think that's about what it is, so that you can capture that via the proximity as well. Don't take my word fully for it, but that's stuff that we found to help our resonance as we've like been only having like one or two bases. But yeah.
Awesome. I think that was super comprehensive, you guys. But we do practice with mics, which has definitely been helpful technique wise. And definitely, when we get on stage, it's one less thing that's unfamiliar is holding that thing. But I think the only thing that wasn't covered was breathing. It sounds super straightforward, but this is something that we start in the beginning, just like holding our phone like this and practicing when you move it. So you want to make sure to not breathe into the mic unless it's an intentional part of the arrangement. And that's just something that also looks clean on stage, from like an optics point of view when that is arranged with the choreography and people are like pulling away. So that's the only thing I had to add on, in terms of mic technique, but I think you guys covered everything else.
Great, thank you all. Next question. Walk us through your tech time process. What do you prioritize in your limited time, and how do you make adjustments?
I can start. I think first, like my biggest piece of advice to any captains or music directors that are on here is that tech time is a really like stressful time. So make sure that even if stuff isn't going the way you want it to, just take a deep breath and try to keep a level head when you're doing it. Like I know it's hard because it's only like 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is, and it can go by so fast. So I think especially as like a leader of the team, just keeping a level head, even if there's issues that are out of your control, that like calm attitude will also pass on to your team. If they see you like freaking out and getting super like stressed out with tech time issues, then they're also going to get stressed out. Um, and that's just like a waste of time. In terms of how we structure it, so what we will usually do is we'll test beatboxer for like the first 2 minutes and then bass for like the next few minutes, and we always have them do their most like intricate or difficult or fast-paced part. I think those are like arguably the most important parts to get out of the way and just get set first. And then we'll do like one of our songs and just do a full music run through. Whichever song is either our most difficult or the one we want to highlight the most, we'll do that. And then if we have any extra time after, we'll try to do like maybe a choreo run through, or we might work on a certain part that we want to highlight. But what is really important to that part is we always practice our whole tech time run through like several days before comp. So having everyone practice from like taking off their shoes, leaving their phones over there, like picking up their mics, filing on in mic order, um, going like doing a full dry run of the tech time thing is really important so that once the team gets on stage, they know like exactly what to do. So that if you need time to like adjust anything, you don't have to worry about like managing your team and also managing tech time at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you raised a fantastic point. I have the tendency to panic, so I try my best to put on a brave face so that my entire team doesn't panic as well. But yeah, I mean that it's so important to be like a figure so that like everybody else doesn't also freak out. So like so you freak out in your head. But it's also what we like to do in the last couple of years is that me, our other MD and our choreo director will like sit down before we have even like we're like a month out from comp, and we'll start planning like to the T exactly how we're doing tech times. For some performances and some competitions, they'll ask us to do a full set run first if like the tech time was like 15, 20 minutes. I forgot what it is this year, but it's differed sometimes.
Sorry, I think it's been standardized now. I think it's 20 minutes for all
20.
comps in the future. Yeah.
Sick. Nice.
I think it's 15. Sorry.
I'm so sorry, 15. Gosh. Thank you.
It's all right. It's fine. It's fine. But just sitting down with all of like the performance directors and being like, what is the most what it has the highest likelihood to go wrong? Like, what is the most intricate thing from like the entire song like entire set as a whole? So what's the part where like the VP is going crazy, the choreo is going crazy, the ensemble is going crazy, and the solos are doing some crazy stuff? Where's that? And then we try to do that first, and essentially we try to do the whole thing, but we try to tackle those super intense places as well. And we also find some landmarks throughout the entire set and give all of them like a very quick, concise like nickname so that we can like when we're running through it in rehearsal, we're like, let's go there, and they will drop a super corny nickname in there, but everybody knows where exactly to go. And that helps a lot. So that way we can just call out something, and then we can use that for the rest of the year if you ever want to start in a particular place. So that helps a lot. And then writing down everything in like a numbered list, and then like with bullet points under that saying like this is what we need to check here, this is what we need to check here. And also making sure you have a plan as to who's going to step out for what if you have multiple MDs or multiple captains. It's a bit of a process for in the last couple of years where like I was the primary VP. So if I stepped off stage and I started beatboxing while giving like the audio engineers stuff and trying to listen, like, oh my goodness, it's too much. And then like Nishant having to be on stage and off stage, but he had 875 solos in the last 3 years. So it was like impossible for us to get the full experience with him off stage sometimes. So finding out what's like the proper balance between who's stepping out and who's in, so that the rest of the team doesn't also have to worry about it. It definitely helps to strike that balance and makes things go a lot smoother. But definitely running through, as Anoushka said, running through tech time like in rehearsal as like a whole thing. It makes it so much easier because it's like running through your set at rehearsal and then going on performing it. Like it's just like, oh guys, we're just doing this again. Like it helps to ease the tension of a set run or of a tech time.
Yeah, like exactly what Ritvik and Anushka said. And adding on, I think one other thing we like to do during our practices, is mark the stage dimensions of the whatever comp we're at. Some stages are massive, like Spartan was massive. Some stages were a little bit tiny. So just marking that and making sure that you practice. Sometimes during practice, like for the smaller stages, people tend to like run into each other, and like you just have to like practice that before the comp itself so that you get like used to tech time, so that solves one issue off of tech time, and so that you could just focus on your like vocals and giving a good performance that way. And again, with keeping composure after tech time and making sure like everyone has high spirits. And then for us, some teams do this, some teams don't, but we actually have managers for our team that step out to watch us, so all of our members like get to be a part of tech time, and we get to like see blend that way. So these are a few things that we do in order to make sure our tech time is a little bit smoother than expected.
Honestly, you guys covered like the big points, but just to like drive a couple home again, I think it's really important to go in with that plan of like exactly what's going to go on during tech time, so everyone's super clear. And just I think the mental part of tech time is pretty big, also to reinforce that, because like things may not go according to plan and that's just okay. I think the like one thing I will call out is the part after where you kind of get to like rewatch your video. I think that's like probably what's most important when we kind of sit down and look at those formations, and like if we've marked out something, right, like we call out things like symmetry and we like analyze that blend situation, and that's kind of like when that opportunity is to talk through where people can make those adjustments. And I think that's also a really important part of tech time, not in like a psyching ourselves out way, but just giving like that constructive criticism of like, okay, here's what we can do in this limited amount of time to like make those realistic changes to sound good on this stage. Yeah.
Okay. Kind of moving more towards like a rehearsal focus. What does a typical rehearsal kind of look like for you guys during comp season, and how do you avoid burnout? Why don't we start with Pramati for this question?
Okay.
Sorry, didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No. All good, all good. So for us, rehearsal, we kind of have different like formats for rehearsals throughout the week. We don't do the exact same thing. Toward, I guess, the first half of the week, we'll have split time of music and choreo runs, because we want to make sure that first and foremost, as a singing team, that music is really, really intact. It's easy to lose sight of it amongst the million other things going on, but we really like to enforce that and make sure everyone's comfortable. And then we will do like kind of song by song deep dives early in the week, where we'll have music and choreo individually step out and then kind of critique and honestly just like break it and really take the time to go through sections that are troublesome in the set, before we try running everything together. And then our later practices in the week are definitely just choreo run-throughs, and like really simulating as many times as possible what it's like to just be on stage for 10 minutes, right? Like no talking, no nothing, like you're on stage now. And so having that, I think, helps people get into that mindset and practice, like, so that it's not as anxiety inducing when you're in that comp environment. And I think in terms of just addressing that burnout factor, that taking breaks are just so important. And we like honestly schedule those breaks in. Our practices range during comp week approximately 2.5-ish hours. And so like in order to like work with as much productivity as we can, our team prefers bursts of energy followed by break. People work differently, but we found that that's what works best for us. So we'll take those 2 run-throughs in a row with no talking, and then we'll decompress for a little bit. We found that that works best for us and keeps people fresh because we emphasize that it's like you're giving your 200% energy right now. Because I mean, when you get on stage, things will like slip out of your control, but whatever we can make muscle memory should be muscle memory. So we just like to emphasize that as well. Oh, and last thing, facial expressions. That's the other thing that I feel like we call out a lot on Comp Week, because as music gets more solidified, it becomes more about the performance aspect. So just making sure that people are really like feeling the song and showing that feeling for it.
I can go next. For us, before comp season, we do something called Hell Week. So we do like minimum 4-hour rehearsals every day leading up to comp, and sometimes we'll do 2 weeks of Hell Week. So burnout is something that like is definitely really hard to avoid. And like I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say, like your strategies for avoiding it. I think first we really try to do kind of like what you said, deep dives on the music, but instead we'll like watch the music video of all the songs we're doing. We'll like sit down and analyze the lyrics. And I think that kind of helps the team with sort of putting their emotion into those songs and then kind of helping with like the facial expressions and all those sorts of things. In terms of like burnout, we really try to sit down with our team and talk about like, you know, what's motivating them to compete, what's motivating them to win, what are like goals that they want to achieve for themselves as like a background, as a soloist, as in choreo. I think taking the time to sort of sit down with everyone and have those motivational talks can really help people have that like inner motivation to keep going, even if they're facing burnout, even if they're tired, they're hungry, they're sleepy, whatever it is. If you can kind of like jog that motivation in them, then I feel like burnout is a little bit easier to avoid. But I think just being understanding of your team, understanding that they have different energy levels, they might have exams, they might have, stuff going on in their personal lives. Even though like the competition is super important, I think it's also really important to kind of just understand where your team is coming from and like understanding their mental health going into the competition, I think is important.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. All you.
Yeah, for general, starting with the rehearsals, we usually structure them like we do warm-ups for 5 to 10 minutes. It could either be just singing like a fun pop song that like is trending or like something that all of us like. So we do that. We do just like vocal choral warm-ups too. And then once we're warmed up, we just do vocal run-throughs of our songs first to get our voices even more warmed up. And then after that, we like go into straight run-throughs. And then our managers also watch us to see. Our managers are kind of our like facial like catchers, I guess. So whoever's like they just point at whoever's facial is like dropping, and then you have to like pick it back up. So it's kind of we kind of like create practices, like we kind of incorporate activities with them. Um so yeah, if someone drops facials, they have to like they have I don't know, they just like shout it out in front of everybody. So we just find ways to make practices engaging. So after our choreo run-throughs, we just figure out parts where we need to work on a little bit more. So we do that, and then we keep doing the run-throughs. And then if people are starting to get burnt out, then we take a break, and we kind of the presidents and as well as everyone just kind of reassesses like how everyone's feeling. And a big thing is just checking in on everyone. We just do that, and then like we like to host like little fun events like ice cream after practice or like just movie at someone's like apartment or something. So just things to keep the like remind people that why they joined this group so they like don't get burnt out. So it's all about like making the experience fun. So that's what we do.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. Um, hard agree on all that. In terms of burnout, I don't know what to tell you. I've been burned out since like 2009, but it definitely helps if like all of y'all are if like the entire team is like if you're like chill like that, you know, because now more than ever, whenever I go talk to other teams at all the other comps, I'm just like all the teams are like their own family, and like we're all our own one big family if you think about it, I guess. But like it just I when I go talk to other teams, I feel like y'all have like the same sense of like familyness and camaraderie-ness that like I feel with Swarum. So it takes a lot of the tension out of a lot of rehearsals when you know that these are your besties, you know. Um, when it comes to like our rehearsal like structure, there are a lot of things that we like to tackle specifically in comp season that definitely help out a lot. So usually at the end of our rehearsals, I'll start with that so that we can get to the beginning after that. At the end of our rehearsal, when we're in the midst of comp season, we will record our set run. Like we'll have like someone step out and take a video of it on their phone of like us doing a whole choreo, whole music, full out, solo, everything. And then the beginning of the next rehearsal, we put that on a big TV and then we watch it. And then our me and our lovely choreo director Varsha will also call out everything that's going wrong in that set run. And even if we have to call individuals, he'll be like, "Bro, your face is not doing the right expression. Like, I like you messed up there. Like tenors are going sharp there. Someone's sticking out there." It helps to like put people on the spot, not like in like a rude way, but like in a constructive way, so that people know, like, if know and are aware of what they're doing wrong. Also, what we do is like we're going through this. Varsha and I are going to call out a bunch of stuff, but also everybody in here, pull out your phone, open up the notes app. You're going to write down 3 things that you did wrong that you need to improve on, and 3 things that you saw other individual members do that was good. So that way people get to get a little bit of sense of validation in from their peers in stuff that they are doing right, so that they get to hear positive stuff as well. We give them positive stuff too, but like it helps to hear from other people as well, and then they also get to like focus on themselves and see what they can do better for themselves by their own observation. Then we do warm-ups. We tried to tackle a bunch of choral stuff. We started to throw in some Carnatic type warm-ups. So if y'all like our Carnatic, we started doing like some Dr. Verse and teaching them that. That was fun to do, and doing like at the different speeds. And that definitely helped for achieving Carnatic type blend whenever we were doing songs like Ramam Raghavam that had a majority of like Carnatic elements to it, so that whenever people in the background were trying to match the swarms or whatever the soloist is singing, like it helps to like focus on Carnatic vowels that are more like an rather than like an ah. So for a lot of people who are mostly chorally trained, that's a difficult adjustment. So we try to go over that so that people don't have to make that adjustment. It's not as difficult. For rehearsal, we try to start off with vocal set runs and vocal runs of each individual song and tackling sections, going through different phrases that are like different problem sections. Sometimes we like to tackle that in sectionals, make everybody sing like all tenors measure this, sing, all those measure this, sing. It helps to break it down, and so that everybody also feels more exposed, and it increases their confidence and their willingness to sing in front of the group. Let's see what else. When we're doing choreo, a lot of the times MDs and CDs will all step out and then basically watch whatever's going on. That way we have several people who will be like, bro, fix your face, or like you're lift up your feet when you're walking, or like get down lower. Sometimes Varsha will put us through like some exercises where like she'll be like, all right, everybody get in a line and go do like your intense walk where you have to go down, and then you have to practice interacting with other people and doing it in front of everybody, and it's really scary, but it helps because if you can't do it in front of us, then you can't do it on stage. So it helps build that confidence, because sometimes you got to be goofy around your friends in order to put that on stage. And then shoot, I had another thing. Yeah, whatever. It probably wasn't important, but definitely stuff like that that increases like the holisticness of like the entire set when it comes to music and choreo. because sometimes when you're starting to do choreo, like the music can start to falter because you're focusing too much on that. So whatever you can do to make sure that everything is cohesive will always help. And it always helps if at the end of rehearsal you can go record TikToks and sing about LeBron, as our team has been doing this entire year. It helps break the tension a little bit.
All right, thank you all so much for answering our questions. We're going to turn it over to the audience for any questions you guys may have now. Feel free to unmute or just put them in the chat as well.
Yeah, if one of y'all wants to answer the vocal fatigue question, I think somebody already put one in chat.
Are you guys able to see the question?
Oh, okay. Oh, wait. I think they DM'd it to me. Okay. But like, the question is, how do you kind of deal with vocal fatigue, especially when long practices or repetitive practices, and especially specifically for VPs when fatigue can kind of hit hard?
Oh yeah, this is a big one for us this year. Especially for me, I lost my voice like 3 times during comp season and like 1 week before the comp. So it was definitely a challenging experience, but I learned the importance of like keeping your voice like it's like a continuous process. Like even if you like scream and yell or like I don't know, like lose track of your voice, like one day that can cost you like a long time because like you get like a sore throat and like it just takes a while for you to recover. So learning that taking care of your voice is just a constant thing. You have to warming up is what we do every day to make sure like our voices are in good shape, but also like drinking tea, like not yelling. During comp weeks, what we do is like whenever someone yells, like everyone just like reminds them to not yell. So just no yelling policy, and like no substances, like the like just making sure that your voice is in good shape for the competition is important, and making sure you take the right steps is like important. And if someone is feeling like their voice is like I'm losing my voice, for example, then like that day themselves, like everyone agrees, like go on vocal rest. It's okay. Just like take a day to make sure your voice doesn't get worse. So just like tracking it that way.
One thing that we'll do for comps is we'll actually make like a recording of our set, just vocals, and then we'll play that on a speaker and then just do choreo with that and then encourage people to just like sing really quietly or like lip sync to that so that we can get in as many choreo practices as possible without people like overexerting their voices. Especially if soloists have like a bell or like a really high note, we'll encourage them like 1 week or 2 week before comp. Don't sing all out, don't sing that belt all out, and then only save that vocal power for tech time or like even just for comp. But yeah, like vocal fatigue is definitely something that we've like experienced a lot. Like right after Gina, I fully like lost my voice. I couldn't speak for like a week or something. But yeah, it happens.
Yeah, vocal fatigue is so tough. Comp season gets super like just straight up painful. Especially a lot of it's all the comps are happening during like flu season, and then it's going from winter to spring, and spring to summer, and then like the weather's changing all the time. People are just going to be sick all the time. So what we try to emphasize that like during comp week, like as y'all said, we'd say don't go to parties, don't even think about it. Don't even talk. If you have to participate in class, just take the L on the class participation grade, like genuinely. And like if you are a soloist and you walk into a rehearsal and you're like, my voice is not feeling it today. Like if Rohan walked into our rehearsal last year, like our Western soloist has, and he said like my voice is not feeling it, go sit in the corner. Like don't even participate. We can't risk anything. So it's important to be as risk averse as possible because whenever you go on stage, like if there's a solo who's like testing their range on on the song, it's so difficult. In terms of VP stuff, I can definitely speak to that. After my first ever comp, which was Gina in 2023, I lost my voice for like a week and it like never came back properly. Since then I haven't been able to do falsetto. I don't know why. Maybe I just had a second puberty. But like it sometimes it's just gonna happen because you're gonna put your voice through so much stress that maybe you hadn't done before. So like our lovely president Abhinav will always bring tea like hot tea bags like on every competition. We'll bring like honey packets and sticks of honey. Everybody will drink the chai all comp long. I know y'all get it. But yeah, so whatever precautions you can take, like no like cold water, like always drink like warm water. We always have and we try to like keep everything stocked on us as much as possible so we don't like have to go fully out of our way. Real, it's so real, so real. Yeah, we got put on so hard by Gina a few years ago. After that, we started bringing them everywhere. But yeah, so whatever precautions that you can take, so you don't have to go out of your way to do it, everything should just be on you all the time whenever you're traveling.
Right, thank you
Just for
guys.
time's sake,
Just
go to the next clip. Oh, sorry, Shaq.
gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, just for time's sake, we'll go to the next question. I think this is a question for Pramati. About
Mic
yeah,
set.
about the
I
mic set.
can.
Yeah.
I'll type it into the chat too, but it's called Phoenix Pro here. That's what it's called. We believe got them on Amazon. The mics are great. The monitor, I don't really know where we got ours from, but it's really not the best. And we're trying to get a new one, so I'm not going to recommend that. But that's the mic set that we use. And yeah, you guys should check it out. I think it's pretty standard, similar to what I've experienced at comp. So, and if I remember right, it wasn't too crazy pricing wise.
Right, thank you. And then also a question in the chat about if your team is struggling to pick up an aspect like dynamics or blend, what steps do you take to try tackle it? Just paste it again.
I can start. I think we like have two main things that we do in this situation. And the number one thing is like to kind of isolate if it's like number one, like a part problem, or if it's like a whole group problem, because both of these things can happen depending on what the issue is. Sometimes if it's a part problem, we emphasize that group meets outside of practice. Doesn't have to be for too long, but just like to kind of sort it out themselves and to make sure that they're all clear on dynamics and blend. And if it's a bigger group problem, then I guess there's a couple ways to tackle it. One, which I think was mentioned earlier, is building parts. So like if you go layer by layer, you're more likely to find, kind of where that problem place is. And then the other thing that we do is we like go half and half with the team. And sometimes like this helps really isolate where the problem area is. And like we'll have like for example, like two SOPs out sitting out giving feedback and two SOPs like actively singing. And that way, if like they're able to isolate it within their part because they know it best, then they can kind of give their part members feedback. And that way. And we've tackled issues that way too.
Yeah, so for our like dynamics and blend, we basically, as I mentioned before, we start like simple with one note and make sure everyone is blending on that note, as well as we get a chance to practice dynamics with that one note as well. If there's a group struggle with blend or dynamics, we do that and start like soft and then gradually increase. And we do that with our set as well for dynamics practice. For example, like take any song like Attention, like we started off like soft and then we had one person in the group kind of like make these pointers like if it goes like this, everyone has to get quiet, and if it goes like if it's all the way up, you have to be really loud. And then like there's like different things, like I don't know, it just rotates, and like different signs are made that we kind of follow that helps with our dynamics. So I guess finding out what works best for your group is something that helps with overall dynamics. And if there's one specific part of a piece that everyone's struggling with dynamics or blend, I guess doing that part over and over to make sure that like it sinks in everyone is what we do.
Thank you. Just for time's sake, going to move on to the next couple questions. A question about connecting auditions, and then something else for new members developing skills.
About the new members and developing skills in vocal teaching, this is kind of answer both of them, but like we try to focus on making sure that a lot of people who come in who maybe only have solo experience don't maybe not know how to blend in an ensemble the way that we would be like wanting them to in rehearsal. So we try to be as clear as possible because we do 2 rounds. We do our first round is like doing solo stuff, and our second round is making sure that they can be in an ensemble with us and testing blend. So during that callback, so to speak, we try to emphasize what in particular we're looking for. So like making sure that they know that they gotta have tall vowels and be super chorals and like no vibrato straight tone. We try to really emphasize that because if they have the ability to adapt to not being able to do that to being able to do that, that shows a lot of flexibility in your vocal skill set. So that will translate to being on this team where you would have to be more flexible. And yeah, typically we try to look for people who not only have like a strong solo voice, but also have a strong ensemble voice because you never know what role people are going to play when they come on the team. So things are going to change a lot over several years. The team dynamic will change, the team composition will change. So making sure that you have members that have a variety of skill is paramount.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of teaching our new members, we also have a lot of members on our team that come from like a Carnatic background and have no experience with reading sheet music or understanding music theory. So one thing that our MDs, Thanav and Shashank, this past year did was like a music workshop. So they basically sat down, made a whole presentation, and taught everyone like music theory, how to read sheet music, time signatures, what are the different dynamic levels, what is a crescendo, what is a decrescendo, all these sorts of things. And I think like that literally being the first practice gave every member kind of a good baseline to sort of go from when we're giving them actually sheet music or talking about certain musical terms. So I think that was really helpful for a team in the beginning.
I can add on one more thing really quickly if we have time for it. But just in terms of teaching new members, we do a boot camp. Um, and like I know that this question didn't cover choreo, but a lot of people come in not really knowing about the choreo aspect. So that's something that we emphasize in our audition process, and we say like we do choreo too also. And just looking for like willingness to learn is a big thing and that open mind. And then when they do come in, that boot camp, we cover basic vocal technique and also basic grooving and stuff for choreo. So that I feel like sets a baseline for like the learning that will happen afterwards.
Yeah, just one quick thing adding on to like we also do a boot camp, but another thing we it would do is also like doing like having choreo during the auditions itself, as well as making sure the audition processes are like involving various elements like pitch matching, making sure like for callbacks as we have like blend like we just test blend and just overall if they're like willingness to learn is another thing, but we also actually don't use sheet music. It's something that the team is looking forward to implementing in the future, but because a lot of people like just don't majority of our team actually doesn't have like sight reading experience, so we just like I guess just learn by like memorization and listening over and over and listening by ear and practicing is what I'd say.
All right. Thank you all for joining. Thank you to our panelists. I'm going to refer everyone to the hashtag Arrangers Discord channel for any remaining questions. But yeah, thank you all for joining today.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, wait. I'm like trying to stop the recording.